Geometric transformations. This is a digital lesson, and this one is winter themed, and it covers the transformations of reflection, translation, dilation, and rotation around the origin. It's a lot of fun for the students. They can use the fill color feature of Google Slides to show their transformations. So the lesson starts with a definition of what transformation means, and then what it means in mathematics. Slide 3 gives students the definitions of the 4 transformations we're going to see in this lesson, so they can refer back to slide 3 when they need to. And they're going to start with reflection on slide 4. So to show this figure reflected across the y-axis, it's going to be equal distance from the y-axis and a mirror image. So to color this in, they're just going to click and hold on one of the squares, scroll across until they have a rectangle shape. Then they come up to the fill color feature and they can choose any color they like. And they just continue until they've shown the entire figure. Now the next one, they're also going to be reflecting across the y-axis. This time it's a T shape. So equal distance from the y-axis and a mirror image. They're going to do the same thing on the next slide, same figure, but this time they're going to reflect across the x-axis, so it's going to look a little bit different. And then they're going to reflect across the line x equals 1, which is colored in here. So it's going to be equal distance from this line on the opposite side and a mirror image. Then they're going to reflect across the line y equals -1. Again, it's colored in, so the new figure is going to be down here at the bottom. And then they're shown what happens when they reflect across a line, but the figure's already partly across that line. I have some points here that show that this is going to act like a hinge. So if they took this figure and they just flipped it up on this hinge, this is what it would look like. And then the next slide, students are going to be doing that one on their own. Then we move on to translation, which is just moving a figure up, down, left, or right without changing its orientation. So here they're just going to show this figure translated 6 units to the right. The next one is a little bit different shape. This one they're going to have 2 movements, so they're going to translate 4 units to the left and then 2 units down. And then they've got a couple more to do. Then we move on to rotation. And with rotation, we're going to be moving these pieces and these points. We're given the formula to move 90 degrees counterclockwise. So we're going to move this triangle shape around the origin. Counterclockwise 90 degrees would put it in quadrant 3. So we're going to take each one of these points. This one is -1, 2. So using this formula, it's now going to be -2, -1. -1, 4 will now be -4, -1. -3, 2 will be -2, -3. Now that they have the points in the correct place, they can just move these lines to finish their figure. So they just click and hold on each one of these, and then they can move them into place. Now they're going to do the same thing on the next slide. They're a little bit different triangle shape. This time they're going to move clockwise 90 degrees, which again will be in quadrant 3, using the formula y -x. So just take each one of the points, change it using this formula. And then they're going to be moving 180 degrees, which means it's going to be in the opposite quadrant using this formula. On the final rotation slide, they're going to be showing this figure as it moves around the origin in each of the different quadrants. So it gives you the formula for each one, and students are going to show what this figure looks like as it rotates all the way around the origin. Then we move on to dilation. We're going to dilate this figure by a scale factor of 2. That means it's going to be 2 times larger. So we're going to take each one of the points and the coordinates, and we're going to multiply those coordinates by 2. So instead of 1, 1, we're now going to have 2, 2 as the point. Negative 1, 1 will be negative 2, 2. And then so on. We're going to place all of the points by multiplying the coordinates by 2, and then just use these lines, click and hold, and move them into place to show this figure dilated by a scale factor of 2. Then we have a triangle shape. We're going to take each of the points. This time it's going to be dilated by a scale factor of 3, so it's going to be a larger triangle. And then we have a scale factor of 1/2, which means because it's a fraction less than 1, this figure is now going to be smaller. So we're going to take the coordinates of each of these corner points and divide by 2, or multiply by 1/2. Now on this final transformation, there's 2 different transformations for the same figure. So here we're going to translate 5 units to the left and then reflect over the x-axis. The final slide has some drag and drop vocabulary. So this is the definition of one of the transformations. Students are just going to click and hold on the edge and then just move it into the correct place in the sentence frame. And they're going to do that with all 4. So it's a good review of the different types of transformations. So this is Digital Lesson, Geometric Transformations, Winter Themed.